Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for your patience as we get started. We've got so much technology now to figure out. Every time we do this, just like one little thing changes. But I think we're just all set now, and I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us today. I'm Julie Wallen, as Michelle said. I'm APHIS Veterinary Services Coordinator for the National Animal Disease Preparedness and Response Program, or what we refer to as NADPRP. And I have with me today Melinda Springer, who's our program analyst, and Laura Wilson and Donna Schultz, who are our grant specialists. You may have received some emails already from our team, and what we want to do today is tell you everything that you're going to need to know to get your cooperative agreement stood up and running, and so that you can get started on these really great projects. We're going to cover getting going, how to submit your claims, how to do reports, and how to do other administrative tasks on your agreement. So we're really excited about your project proposals. We're happy that you applied for these funds, and we really look forward to seeing what your projects produce. So as Michelle said, at any time during our presentation, feel free to enter your questions into the chat box. We have plenty of time at the end of our agenda today to take all of your questions verbally as well. So, as I said, our agenda today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the background of the program, and then I'm going to turn it over to my team, and they're going to step you through how you stand up your cooperative agreement, give you a little overview of EasyFed grants, cover how to process claims. We're going to spend some time talking about how to submit your performance and financial reports. I know that's a little bit down the road, but the main reason we cover it today is because we won't have another webinar with you guys where we can tell you all, get you all started up front with the right information. We'll briefly cover different situations, like if you need to make budget shifts or amendments, or you need to request an extension. And then, as I said, at the end, we've got loads of time to take all of your questions. So I'm going to transition now and just give you a little bit of introduction to the program, just real briefly. The 2018 Farm Bill was passed, and it included a substantial amount of new funding for animal disease preparedness and response through programs that USDA APHIS Veterinary Services manages. This three-pillar program included the NADPRP, which is what we're talking about today and where you've received funding from. It also included funding for a new National Animal Vaccine and Veterinary Countermeasures Bank that has the priority of stockpiling foot and mouth disease vaccine. And it also provided additional funding for the National Animal Health Laboratory Network. And we also offer cooperative agreements and a competitive funding opportunity through the NALM program. But as I said today, we're just going to focus on the NADPRP program. And this is a program where APHIS Veterinary Services can enter into cooperative agreements with a wide range of different types of stakeholders to conduct high-value projects to prevent the introduction and spread of foreign and emerging animal diseases in the U.S. So a few features of the program are that it's Know Your Money, which is really nice. It allows us to provide awards for projects that exceed 1 year. We have a competitive funding process, and as I said, we use cooperative agreements, and we have the ability to enter into partnerships with many different types of entities, such as universities, livestock organizations, states, tribal organizations, and others. So each year in the NADPRP program, we issue a funding opportunity, which you all apply to, and every year the funding priorities shift to address a different high area of concern. And as you all know, this year's funding priorities were aimed at large-scale animal depopulation and disposal events and an outbreak response situation, and also aimed at projects that will advance livestock biosecurity. So this year, we received 59 proposals, and we funded 46 projects for a total of $9.3 million funded. So just briefly again, in the NADPRP program, we have this annual funding cycle. We start by defining priorities and then offering the open period, which we started last July through September. And then we have a competitive review process. We approve get approval all the way to the USDA level, and announce the awards, which we did in December, and you all received your email notifications about those awards. And where we are now is at the awarding funds or standing up your cooperative agreement stage, and then we shift into monitoring and reporting. So a couple other things about these NADPRP agreements that I haven't mentioned yet. We can do pre-awards, but they're usually not needed because we try to work really quickly to get the cooperative agreement set up. We do list all of the projects on our APHIS website, and they're available through other government programs that make public information available about any federally funded project. As a result of all that listing on the internet, we do get a lot of requests for information about your projects. And when those informations come to us, we pull your quarterly reports to tell the media or others what's going on. So this is why we put a lot of emphasis on those performance reports. We also have to demonstrate to Congress the strength of this program and the value of the program. The Farm Bill, as many of you know, it's a 5-year legislative act. So this current Farm Bill that we're in provided funding from fiscal year 19 through federal fiscal year 2023. And we want to show Congress what a good job we're doing and what a good job these projects are doing towards advancing national animal disease preparedness and response. So we're happy to have you as recipients and cooperators. Your main responsibility, of course, is to carry out your project and ensure adequate progress on the project and to complete your project's objectives. We also have some administrative tasks that you're responsible for, like performance and financial reports, the timely expenditure of project funds, and you're responsible for submitting claims so that you'll be reimbursed for the work that you're doing. You're responsible for maintaining your official records regarding the agreement, keeping an official agreement file, and addressing any issues, technical issues that come up with your project with the VS program manager who was assigned to your project. Your responsibilities also include submitting written requests when you need to make amendments, budget shifts, or other changes. And at the end of your performance period, you'll be submitting equipment and property records during the closeout. So we thank you for your attention to this. We're going to cover these responsibilities today. And I also want to end my little introduction section by saying that we're here to help you. So as you go through these responsibilities, you get to different stages in the implementation of your project. You, of course, have your VS program manager, whom I said is your technical expert. You can also reach out to us as program administrators and our program team to help you with different kinds of tasks or questions that you have that come up about your projects and how to administer your award. So with that, I'm going to switch it over to Laura Wilson. Laura is one of our grant specialists, and she's going to step you through the information about executing the award, getting it activated so that you have an active cooperative agreement in EasyFed grants, and she'll talk with you a little bit more about EasyFed grants as well. So Laura, take it away.
Great, thanks, Julie. So as you just said, I'm going to give a quick recap of the award process thus far from the APHIS Veterinary Services Grant Specialist team. So let's jump right in. So after the proposals were selected and the spending plan was approved, the VS Grant Specialist, or GS, sent email notifications to all the applicants notifying them of their status. There were 4 different notifications that went out based on each individual project. There were those applicants who did not get selected for funding, and there were those who were selected for full funding, not needing any revisions. We had those that were selected for full funding but needed some revisions, and then there were those selected for partial funding but needed revisions. So the NADPRP staff then assigned VS program managers, or PMs, to the awards and sent notification emails with specific instructions on the next steps for executing these awards. The PMs began working with those recipients needing revisions to documents, and we also had several awards that had a start date proposal of January 1st, And since we're past that date, and to try and alleviate the potential for a pre-award process, we ask that the PMs work with recipients on those awards to change their start date to either February 1st or March 1st. So if your award notification email asks you to revise and resubmit documents, then you should have already been in discussions with your VS program manager. It's important to note that any revised documents cannot be uploaded into EZ-Fed grants by the recipient once the funding opportunity announcement has closed. The VS grant specialist has to do this manually. So we ask that the VS program manager approve and sign the revised documents and send them to the NADPRP mailbox so that we can then upload those documents into the award package in EZ-Fed grants. So what we've covered so far is that the recipients should have now been in communications with their designated VS program manager. The next steps that we need from recipients for getting your award executed will be verifying your organization's user profiles in EZ-Fed grants, making sure that they're current and active, and taking action on approving award requests by your signatory official within EZ-Fed grants. After those steps, and the award is executed, and then there are post-award management steps that we'll briefly go over later in this presentation. So the take-homes from that section is that we really need the recipients to verify that you have access to PIMI and EZ-Fed grants, discuss your project and work with your VS program manager for any revisions that are needed. And then after that, the VS grant specialist completes the agreement and EZ-Fed grants. It'll then be routed for signatures. And in the EZ-Fed grants overview portion of this presentation, we'll go over the agreement approval workflow process in more detail so you can see exactly how that works. Which brings me now to the overview of EZ-Fed grants. So just a little background on EZ-Fed grants. It's USDA's required online system for managing cooperative agreements. It allows agencies and recipients to manage their awards throughout the life cycle of the agreement, and it ensures our compliance with federal requirements for grants and accounting. So these are the stages of the project lifestyle that happens within EZ-Fed grants. We have the pre-award phase, award, then post-award management and reporting, and then the closeout and the financial audit. So EZ-Fed grants requires that each recipient have a minimum of at least one grants administrative officer and one signatory official. It's best practice to have at least one backup in each role in order to keep items such as claims or amendments moving through the system. Most everyone on this webinar today should already have access to EZ-Fed grants from when your organization submitted your application. However, if changes have occurred or do occur over the project lifecycle, recipients will need to know how to obtain access to the system and to be assigned roles. Also, please keep the NADPRP staff posted if there are changes that occur within your organization. And as always, we're always here to help with that as well. We do have some links here for you, instructions for how to obtain access to PIMI and EZ-Fed grants that can be found on the NFC EZ-Fed grants website link. And this is also a couple more links for you, job aids and some other materials where you can find information to get help for EZ-Fed grants. This next slide is just showing you, just for your information only, what the external portal of EZ-Fed grants looks like. And now I'm going to go over the award execution workflow within EZ-Fed grants. So the VS grant specialist will complete the draft agreement in EZ-Fed grants. It's then routed to the VS program manager for approval. I'm going to stop here because it's important to note that once the award is approved by the VS program manager, the grant specialist cannot go back in and edit. So please notify your program manager if there are any changes in roles for your organization, especially the signatory official, before the award continues to be routed for signature. If we don't have the correct users in the systems, it could hold up the process in getting the award executed. So after the VS PM approves, the award then moves to the recipient signatory official. After that signature, it comes back to APHIS VS for our agency signatory official, and then to our agency's financial approver, and then the award is officially executed. So we've now gone over the process for getting the awards executed, and the rest of this presentation will focus on post-award management, starting with claims. Once the award is fully executed, recipients are able to receive reimbursement for expenses incurred from the work performed. Recipients submit claims through EZ-Fed grants where the VS program manager and the VS grant specialist can approve. There's also a link on this slide here related to processing claims within EZ-Fed grants. And it's important to note that claims cannot be processed in EZ-Fed grants if there are any past due reports associated with the agreement. So please refer to the recipient guide for further information on reporting and claims. And this next section, Melinda will be talking about those performance reports. So I'll pass it over to Melinda.
Thanks, Laura, and hello, everyone, and thanks for allowing me to speak to you today about quarterly reports. And for some reason, I don't have control of the slide. Okay, now it is. Thanks. So to begin with, there are two types of reports that are due during the monitoring and reporting phase of the award. That would be the financial report and the performance report. Reports must be submitted in EZ-Fed grants with all approvals completed by the due dates. Reports are due based on calendar year quarters. Reports are always due on these dates regardless of the start date of the project. For example, activities performed during January 1st to March 31st, which is quarter one, are due April 30th. Those activities performed April 1st to June 30th, which would be quarter two, are due on July 31st. Activities for July 1st to September 30th, which is quarter three, are due October 30th. And finally, those activities performed October 1st to December 31st, which is quarter four of the calendar year, are due January 31st. Each project will have an award face sheet with details about the agreement. This is your guide for report due dates. Report due dates are listed under reporting requirements for both performance and financial reports. Both reports are due the same day for each project. The quarter the first report is due may vary depending on self-identified project start and end dates. For example, some projects will have their first report due at the end of the first calendar year quarter, while others may have their first report due at the end of the second calendar year quarter. So if you want to take a look at your award face sheet, you can locate that document by accessing EZ-Fed Grants external portal. And then if you look down the bottom of the right-hand side of the screen, view federal award documents. By clicking on that, you'll be able to either save a copy or print a PDF, save a PDF copy or print a copy of that award face sheet. EasyFed Grants generates an email with the award face sheet that is typically sent to recipients, recipient admin contacts, program contacts, and signatory officials. Those that were identified per the application package, SF-424. If all else fails and you need a copy of that award face sheet, you can email us at ds.nadprep@usda.gov and request a copy. So next, I'm going to focus specifically on performance reports. And it might be helpful if you open up the guidebook that we sent out and look at page 13. That's Appendix 1. That's an example of the performance report. So the general information about these reports. The quarterly reports are required each quarter the project is active. We'll supply you with a pre-filled template with the project's basic information. The template's short and really easy to use. Templates must be used for all report submissions, even if there's no activity to report for the quarter. If there's nothing to report, you can just enter no activity this quarter or nothing new to report in the various sections of the template. You'll receive the template prior to the end of the first quarter in 2021. That would be before the end of March. If you haven't received the template by then, contact your program manager and ask them for a copy. The first round of reports are due April 30th. That is for quarter one, which is January 1st through March 31st. Each report provides a concise snapshot of the progress over the life of the project and should include a short but precise description of activities completed, plans, and major achievements. Each quarter, information is updated from the previous quarter submission using the template. Activities reported must clearly and directly align with the objectives in the project work plan. As recipients, you complete the report each quarter on time the project is active. Performance reports must be in EasyFed Grants by the due date with all required approvals completed. Again, reports are due 30 days after the end of the calendar year quarter. So the example there would be those that are due for quarter one for January 1st to March 31st are due April 30th. You can refer again to your project award face sheet for specific reporting requirements. So next I want to tell you about the tasks that are specific to you guys as recipients. So you're responsible for completing the report each quarter the project is active on time and using the template. You're going to hear me say this a lot to really try to drive that home. You're responsible for using the guidebook and the award face sheet as aids, including work plan objective alignment and the date of activity for each entry, emailing the report to your program manager for review prior to submission in EasyFed Grants, submitting the report that contains quality information that briefly shows the progress of the project, and for the approvals of performance reports in EasyFed Grants. That would be your recipient signatory official and your grant person. So the next topic that we're going to go over is what's included in these reports. You might want to refer to Appendix 1, page 13 of the guidebook to follow along so you can see an example as we go through these. The basic project information will be pre-filled when you receive the template, and that information includes the profile, the title, the summary, and the objectives that you listed in your work plan. If there are changes to this information, like your primary investigator or your principal investigator or your program manager, feel free to update that information whenever the situation arises. Each quarter, you'll use this template or the last submitted report and provide updates for the current reporting quarter for the next sections of the report. So the information updated each quarter includes the report date, the completion score, the budget status, also the activities completed this quarter and those that are planned for the next quarter. In this section, you'll delete the information that you put in the last report and replace it with updated information for the current quarter. So an example of what this information should look like for completed this quarter would be like, March 10th, 2021, shared final training and exercise document with all exercise players. Tabletop exercises planned for May 2021, objective 3. That would be a really good entry for that section. And an example of a good entry for plan next quarter would be host a tabletop exercise using new infographics to establish proof of concept. Scheduled for May 2021, objective 3. Another section that you will be updating each quarter is significant changes to the work plan. And only those changes that were requested in writing and approved by your program manager should be included here that should be done before any deviation from the work plan. So a good example for that would be, say, COVID will prohibit classroom-style training and subsequent tabletop exercise associated with this project. The project primary investigator or principal investigator has identified options for training and exercise that do not require personnel to meet face-to-face. The tabletop exercise will be conducted in a virtual setting in May 2021. The program manager has approved this change on January 15th, 2021. For success stories, we really want to hear anything especially anything that was an unexpected success story or an unexpected benefit from the project. And you also want to include any local media articles that are published that are related to your project here. We really want to hear all the good stuff and all the good recognition that you're receiving out there for these projects. The last section of the report is major project accomplishments. This section is cumulative. I can't even say the word, cumulative. Don't delete this information each quarter. Keep adding to it so that at the end of the project completion, when the project's completed, you'll have a really good timeline of all of the major accomplishments that happen. So that is the only section of the report that you do not delete. You just keep adding to it. So a good example of an entry under that section would be, say, February 6, 2021, finalized 20 infographics for describing critical incident management team positions. The infographics were shared with training and exercise partners in Tennessee, Florida, and Georgia Department of Agriculture in preparation for the training and exercise scheduled for April and May 2021, objectives 2 and 3. If you have any questions, any questions about filling out the report that you are not finding the answer in the guidebook, please feel free to send us an email at the NADPRP website. The NADPRP mailbox. So I just want to quickly run through the do's and don'ts. So as far as the do's go, we really want you to review the example in the guidebook, Appendix 1, page 13, and refer to the guidebook for report instructions. I know I sound like a broken record, but I can't stress this enough. Please submit all performance reports using the template that we provide you. even if there's no activity to report. We want you to include all major activities or high-level accomplishments associated with the work plan objectives, these activities that show progress. We want you to ensure each entry includes the activity date and the work plan objective addressed, and make sure all significant changes in the work plan have been requested in writing and approved by your program manager prior to deviation. We ask that you don't copy the work plan, the text from the work plan for the objectives. We're going to do that for you. We ask that you not include activities like meetings held, identifying or scheduling training, planning, copying, confirming availability to assist, organizing logistics, information gathering, arranging travel, or document drafting, nothing like that. These types of entries don't add any value to the report, so we ask that you omit including them. Please do not use unnecessary language or fluff words. And we encourage you to think about who will be seeing the report, the time it takes to review it, and what they might need to know. So what should you do prior to submitting the report? The report information that you include can be shared with Congress, USDA executives, state animal health officials, various livestock organizations, industry representatives, the media, or other program stakeholders to determine the program's value and success. We are accountable for taxpayer dollars that are being spent with this program, so keep that in mind. Therefore, it's important that all performance reports provide a clear snapshot of work, information that is easy to follow and understand, and provides just the right amount of information, not too little and not too much. Providing good information is a must and is very helpful. This report should not be labor intensive. We think we've designed it, we hope we've designed it so that it can be quickly done and doesn't take up a whole lot of time. It should be able to be quickly read in just a few minutes when it's complete. Entries that are brief and direct are much easier to digest by Congress and others that we share the report with. Providing careful, thoughtful information will help ensure the longevity of our program. We often get data calls and requests for information with very short turnarounds, so providing information in this format allows us to quickly highlight activities and include high-impact information when requested. It also allows us to take advantage of opportunities to boast about the great work that you're doing out there. So before you submit the report, you should ask yourself, did I use the template? Are entries clear and concise with only major achievements included? Are entries easy to follow and understand? Do activities align with the work plan objectives? Are dates and objective numbers included with each entry? The answer to all of these questions should be yes before you provide the report to your program manager for review. So this slide demonstrates or illustrates steps the performance report will go through for approval. This is an overarching business process, basically, for the performance report. You fill out the quarterly performance report using the template provided, then ask your program manager to review it before submitting an EasyFed grant. Doing this will prevent additional steps if changes are required. Program managers review the report for accuracy, completeness, and work plan alignment, and then provide feedback back to you. You address any feedback that was provided by the program manager, and then you upload it in EasyFed grant. The report then goes through the approval steps in EasyFed grant, and then next quarter you'll take through the report that was submitted the previous quarter and make updates, and then you'll loop back around to step number 2 by providing it to your program manager for review. This cycle is maintained while the project is active. So this slide is the EasyFed grant approval cycle in the system. So, and the chart will show you, demonstrate how the approvals are completed and what order they're completed in EasyFed grants. Each step triggers the next step in EasyFed grants. This process order is maintained by default in the system. After your program manager reviews your report, your performance report, and provides feedback, you finalize the report and upload it into EasyFed grants. The recipient, grant processor approves in EasyFed grants. Then your certifying official approves in EasyFed grants. Then the project VS program manager approves in EasyFed grants. So note, as previously said several times, we recommend that the program manager reviews the performance report and provides feedback prior to uploading it into the system. Since the program manager is the last to approve in EasyFed grants, changes at that point will require the process to start all over again, starting with re-uploading the report in the system and then going through each one of the approval steps. So it can be quite lengthy to have to go through that process again. So just kind of head it off by having them take a look up front is our recommendation. So this slide is on file naming convention. So we ask that you use this naming convention for all performance reports that you upload into the system. And what this tells us is, like FLO 1.20, that's the project ID, and we actually create those project IDs and provide them to you. It tells us that this particular project was funded against a 2020 funding opportunity, and that this is a performance report, so the PE is for performance report, and it's being submitted for calendar year quarter 2 on June 10th, 2021. The file naming is not associated with the number of reports that you submit, but it does quickly let us know that you've met the obligation, your obligation for that calendar year quarter. So you might ask us, you might be asking yourself, why is this so important? So keep in mind that we pull roughly 82 performance reports from EasyFed grants each quarter as of right now. Some recipients have several active projects over a 2-year period for multiple funding opportunities. We've noticed sometimes reports are attached under the wrong quarter in EasyFed grants. So using this file naming convention helps us identify those quickly and may help overall with report upload in the correct location in EasyFed grants. So this concludes my section of the presentation. I thank you very much for your time today. Next, I'll turn things back over to our grant specialist, Laura, who's going to talk to you about financial reports.
Great, thanks, Melinda. So financial reports. The Federal Financial Report, or the SF-425, they're required each quarter and are due on the same date as the performance report. They are completed and submitted in EasyFed grants. The SF-425s are meant to report consecutively, one quarter building on one another, so that at the end, the SF-425 will show the full performance period numbers. And there's more details on that in the recipient guide as well. But since we've already covered a lot, we won't go into great detail on that. And same with amendments, budget shifts, and extensions. There's a lot of good information in the recipient guide on this as well. But it's mostly important to note that recipients are required to report in writing any deviation from the budget project scope or the objective. So you could always reach out to the NADPRP, the Farm Bill staff, with any questions that you might have. And in conclusion, we have a target date of getting all of these agreements executed by March 31st. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Julie to wrap it up and talk about a few more items. So thank you all very much.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for hanging in there with us for this presentation. At this time, we want to open it up for questions. And while you think about your questions, I'm going to give you just a little more information. Melinda has emailed to all of you yesterday the recipient guidebook, so most of this is in there. We've also emailed you these PowerPoint slides, and we will be posting the recording of the webinar on YouTube, and we'll send you all the link to that. So if there's other colleagues associated with your project whom you think would benefit from this, you can send this information to them, either the guidebook or the recording or both. So at this time, we'd just like to take any questions that you have. As I said at the outset, we're here to help you. We know that you're just at the beginning stage right now of standing up your cooperative agreement, and we also went into a lot of detail of post-award management, things like reporting and claims processing. We want to take any questions that you have, but, and we realize that down the road, you might have questions later on about your reports or claims submission or budget amendments or things like that. Feel free to reach out to us. The very best way to contact us is the email that's shown here, vs.nadprep@usda.gov. But you're also welcome to reach out to us individually, and they're shown on the slides. So, okay, so I see a question in the chat box. Can you restate who should be contacted if there has been a change in the signatory official within a recipient agency? Very well stated. I would send that to the vs.nadprep@usda.gov email address. So any other questions, you can enter them into the chat box, or our event producer is going to open the phone line so that you can ask a question verbally, and we'd be glad to take that as well.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we enter Q&A, if you would like to ask a question via phone, please press #2 on your telephone keypad to enter the question queue. Once again, pressing #2 will enter you into the question queue.
Okay, I see one more question in the chat line that I'll take, and the question is, if your grant starts on March 15th, will you need to do a report for the first quarter? No, you don't. When you get your award stood up and your grant starts, you'll receive an award face sheet, and if your award were to start on March 15th, your first quarter of reporting would be from the April through June time period, and your first report would be due at the end of July.
I do not see any phone questions currently, but once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to ask a question via phone, please press #2 on your telephone keypad.
So I do see another question that I think we didn't answer. If there is some need to re-budget, for example, a salary from a PhD student to be used for a temp, is this double? Gustavo, I'm not sure about that question. If you have to make a budget adjustment, you can, again, talk about that with your VS program manager. You can also send your question to VS NADPRP. I'm going to assume, Gustavo, that your award has not been established yet, so there won't be a need for an amendment. We just do that in the initial establishment of the cooperative agreement. Donna or Laura, do you see that question in the chat box, and do you have anything else to add?
This is Donna, and I do see it, and I don't have anything else to add.
All right, we do have a question on the phone.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Caller, your line is unmuted. You may ask your question.
Hi, this is Julie in Vermont. I was just wondering if you could repeat the questions to ask yourself when composing the report entries to just check that they're going to work well for all the different purposes that you described.
Yes, and I'll show that slide again, Julie. Thank you. So, I mean, the quarterly reports, we go into a lot of details. They don't always come in exactly how we'd really like them, but we basically want to hear in each report, what you did in the last quarter and what's going to happen in the next quarter, and then what the major accomplishments are. And it needs to be fairly concise. If we get a data call from, say, the Secretary of Agriculture and he's visiting Vermont, for example, he might need to know, or his staff need to know on a very short notice, what's going on with that project that we funded in Vermont. So we will pull up your quarterly report, and we just don't, it should be fairly tight, straightforward. It should also inform your program manager, your program manager from DS what you're doing on the project. So it's not only written for that high-level audience. It has to sort of hit that balance. Does that answer your question?
Actually, earlier you had presented like 4 questions to ask, like, was this worded concisely? And those were just really helpful to me. I don't know if you can repeat those.
Julie, can I answer that question?
Yeah, please.
Julie. Okay, yeah. So those questions are actually listed in the notes section of the presentation. So if you take a look at that, you should be able to find them there.
Super, thanks.
All right, as a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to ask a question via phone, press #2 on your telephone keypad to enter the question queue.
There's another question, and I'm embarrassed that I don't know the answer to it, but it says verify that we do instruct you to verify that you have access to EZ-Fed grants, and EZ-Fed grants is tied to our federal FMMI system, or what we call FIMI. And I don't remember what that stands for, but I'm sure that Donna Schultz knows.
Thanks, Julie. Yeah, it's, and I should know this off the top of my head, and I was completely just forgotten. And Laura, do you know?
Yeah, I just put it in the chat.
I just put it in the chat as well.
Yeah, Financial Management Modernization Initiative. And really all that folks would see when they access the portal is the grantor management, which is also known as our EZ-Fed grant system module, which is a module within the financial management system, FEMI.
All right. Well, we're going to hang on here for a few more minutes. If anybody has questions that they want to ask, please feel free. Also, we know that this is a download of a lot of information today, and if you have questions after you hang up or after you get off our webinar, please feel free to call us or send your questions via email. Again, the best way to reach all of us all at once is to send it to vs.nadprep@usda.gov. Okay, well, I don't see any more questions coming in, so I think we'll wrap it up for today. Michelle, thank you very much. Thanks very much for helping moderate through our webinar today. And again, let us know if you have questions, if you had any stumbling blocks with standing up your award, or if you have questions down the road. Of course, reach out to your VS program manager, but feel free to reach out to us as well.